Hi, my angels, and welcome back. Now, today I wanted to make a video for you. If you have ever struggled with feeling rejected, unseen, or like no matter what you do, you just simply don't belong anywhere, and maybe no matter how many affirmations you've repeated or changed them, your body is still freaking out. I really want you to know that this is not your fault. There is a very real scientific reason rejection tends to hit so deep and why it blocks your manifestations. And this has honestly been one of the biggest breakthroughs of my own life. Now, for just a little bit of a backstory, I grew up mixed in a small town, and while it does have diversity, it was predominantly white. And the environment that I grew up in didn't make me feel like I truly belonged. I was too white for the black kids and too black for the white kids, as everyone would always say. And I felt like any other culture group or race already had their own solidified friend group. So this was something that I feel a lot of people always joked about because it was never fully acknowledged on how to cope with it. It was more like, this is just the way that it is, and this is what I'll have to accept. So, after being bullied and going through a lot of different things that I was experiencing, my parents moved me from school to school and really tried their best to make sure that I felt included and just safe in my belonging. But I noticed that even in the church or the private schools, I then was often one of the only brown girls there, and I carried this tension of just never being enough anywhere. Because growing up mixed to me meant I had no single identity that I was able to latch onto. My siblings and I all looked so different, and people would ask if we even had the same parents. So it was just a continuous questioning of my solid family foundation that I've built. And then on top of that, always being bullied, called names, or just questioned for who I was everywhere that I went. So then, on top of all of these different things that I was experiencing, at home, I did end up falling into the role of being the responsible one. I was the one breaking my schedule, being the emotional counselor for everybody, really picking up the slack, making sacrifices while others got to rest because everyone's looking up to me. So, whenever I tried to speak on how stressed or overwhelmed I felt, I would just always get told that other people have it so much worse, or you're just too sensitive, you really need therapy, or something was wrong with me because I couldn't find the same happiness in anything else. So, because of this, my nervous system learned your emotions don't matter and your voice does not get to be heard because your belonging isn't even safe. So I remember walking around with this literal fire in my chest and stomach that I didn't understand it as a kid. But now I know that my nervous system was genuinely just recording rejection as danger. And that wiring stayed with me for over 20 years because it was consistently being fired up to perform in this way. So, this is where my inner nerd really wants to break this down for you to understand that when you are rejected on a continuous basis, especially as a child and your brain is developing, what happens is a part of your brain called your anterior cingulate cortex lights up. Now, this is the same brain region that processes physical pain, and your brain literally cannot tell the difference between being excluded and being physically hit. So rejection actually does hurt like a physical wound. Next, we have, I always tend to butcher this word for some reason, your amygdala or your amygdala. There we go. I got it. I knew I would get it. That word is always like a tongue twister for me for some reason. But your amygdala is your fear center. It then fires up and it says, "This is unsafe. Do not let it happen again." And it's going to flood your entire system with all of these stress hormones. You then have your hippocampus, which is going to store all of your memory database, tagging all of these events as dangerous, and it's going to replay it whenever something similar happens. So then we have your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that is supposed to calm you down with logic, getting hijacked all the time. So what this means is by the time that you're an adult, you're not just remembering rejection. Your body is actually reliving it over and over again. So every trigger, whether it's a text not answered, maybe someone kind of giving you a side look, a friend leaving you out, it's going to reactivate the original wound and really fire up a lot of things, which tends to lead my clients into thinking that they are regressing or that they messed something up because they're not understanding why their body is still responding in this way. So that is probably why when you try to affirm, I'm loved, I'm chosen, I'm accepted, you still get these flare ups or these triggers that your chest is burning, your stomach is in knots again, and your throat is closing up again because your nervous system is not lying to you. It is just running the programs that it's been taught. So, this is why so many people will feel like they're doing everything right with the manifestation, but nothing is actually landing the way that you need it to. So typically, when this wiring is showing up, this can look as maybe spiraling if your specific person doesn't text back, but then you're noticing them being very active on their social media. Maybe you find yourself comparing yourself to every girl online, or even just in your daily life, or having basic conversations with people you're meeting, or even just your basic friends or your family. Your affirmations could really start to feel like lies to you. You could find yourself really freezing at the thought of launching new business ideas or even just chasing different leads in your career. This can also come out in the way as people pleasing, and you are overperforming just to avoid being left out or not being included in any way because your brain genuinely processes these things as rejection, as something that is going to physically harm you. Now, it's not that you don't believe or you're not doing enough work or that you're just not saying the right affirmations. It's simply that your body does not feel safe believing because all of those different programmings were never validated and they were just simply suppressed over all of these years. So while I was understanding this work, for me, it was really able to open my eyes to this. Really explained why I could date people from so many different cultures and still feel like I was never going to be accepted by them fully or their families, and the race issue would always come up for our breakups. This is why my friendships I felt blew up with comparisons about race, or why I would always feel dismissed because no one could ever understand my specific experience. And it really explained why I couldn't maintain my manifestations of love or money or success, because underneath it all, I really did carry that simple block of belonging because it was something very foreign to me. Now, I really want to make this clear. It does not matter what your background was, because maybe you weren't mixed like me, but maybe you were the child who had to perform to be loved or accepted, or you faced a ton of rejection in your life through different circumstances and different figures. Or maybe you were the one who was always told to stop being so dramatic, or the one who genuinely felt so invisible in your family that now you carry the label of the black sheep. Because no matter how many times people told you you were just a kid, you didn't know better, the past is the past, your body did know. Your body does remember, and it was always recording this as danger. And it's why today you still might feel shut down when you're trying to create this brand new life and this brand new identity for yourself, because you physically cannot go all in on this topic. So now I really want you to understand, how do you change this? How do you actually rewire all of these different things within yourself? How do you actually make sure that your soil is good and rich so that your garden can actually grow? So, the first thing here is you really want to look at your awareness. You want to notice where rejection lives in your body. Is it tightness in your chest? Do you have nausea in your stomach? Do you have a lump in your throat? Because naming it is always going to be your first entry point. Then the next part of this, you have to look at your safety signals. So how are you making sure your body feels safe and grounded when these things are coming up? Because this is going to break the cycle of being so reactive in these situations and not actually breaking the cycles that were put in place. So when this flares up, I want you to start to maybe place your hand over your heart and breathe slowly. Really tell yourself, I am safe right now. I know that I am in the sense of belonging because I belong right now. This is genuinely going to help you rewire everything to really start to calm down and understand the functionings of your body. Because if you are not a safe pillar for yourself, nothing else out here ever is going to feel like one either. The next thing that I really focused on was inner child healing. So, if you can close your eyes and picture younger you in those exact moments and really remind yourself that you are never too much, you've always been enough, and you're here to validate and understand anything that you were going through, and just be that big cheerleader that you really felt like you never had. Maybe even just carrying an old photo with you if it's hard to reconnect with your inner child, because you want to really remind yourself that you are not alone, and no matter how old you are, your inner child is always with you and you're never separate from them. So they're going to be there with you every step of the way. And once you're able to really talk to them in a way that they feel acknowledged and seen and heard, which is going to be very specific to you and any of the things that you've gone through, this is going to be a huge, huge, huge game changer. And it was something that I did stray away from for a little bit when I first ran into the law of assumption, because I was nervous that I was either going to get stuck and trapped in this healing loop of thinking I had to keep fixing things, or that I was going to bring a lot of my past experiences forward into the present moment. And because I was so scared to even go into that moment, I ended up doing the exact opposite and recreating those moments over and over for myself instead of just going to the root and being able to fully acknowledge myself. So, the inner child healing is a very key aspect, I think, when you are manifesting absolutely anything in your life and you keep hitting different resistance blocks. Now, the next thing that I do really recommend is EFT tapping or nervous system regulation, because even whenever you're doing the tapping points and you're saying, even though I was dismissed or I was rejected, I choose myself now. It is safe to be seen. I do belong everywhere. Because your pain body is remembering all of these things, you can't just affirm through it without actually releasing it. And by tapping on different points in your body or doing somatic exercises, you can release that on a spiritual, physical, mental level. So it can't be all through the mind when your body has genuinely stored all of these different things for yourself. So the next thing that I did is the journal prompts. So I really want you to ask yourself, where did I first feel unseen? What story did I create about myself because of this? And what is the truth that I choose now? And you can even expand it. And I really encourage my clients to write a letter to your younger self, write a scene where you were fully accepted. Give your nervous system a new script to fully rehearse and get very familiar with the types of language that your inner child and you specifically resonate with, because this is your personal specific journey, sorry. And then the last one is the embodiment, where I don't want you to just say these words. I want you to really live them out. So these daily actions are going to actually help you rewire these things the fastest, because you're showing yourself that you trust yourself to take this action and you're able to really program your brain to be on board. So different examples could be maybe dressing in an outfit that makes you feel radiant instead of just always hiding your body, or maybe it's not the typical thing that you were told was accepted growing up, okay? Really make eye contact with someone when you're ordering coffee, or take up space when you walk into a room. Walk in as your most confident self, even if it's to the local grocery store, okay? Really breathe deeply before you post that piece of content that you've been scared to share, because your body does learn by doing these things every single day. But the biggest thing, and if you have any questions on any of the above, I will gladly walk you through any of this process. The key, though, I am running a little bit behind on time. I'm very busy right now. I kind of overbooked myself, but I wanted to make this video for you guys because the biggest key is compassion, okay? Because old programming will flare up, but that doesn't mean that you're failing. It really means that your brain is learning. So I want to make sure that you have all the key pieces you need in this video, and if you have any other ones, just to work with me, because I want you to understand that you're not alone in this process. And it can feel like maybe even your whole life that you've lived, you were very alone and very misunderstood. But once your nervous system can learn to fully associate safety with being seen, that is when your manifestation stops feeling like a battle all the time and it can start flowing. This is why I always say, too, manifestation is not about forcing this one affirmation 1,000 times robotically into your brain. It's really about making your body feel safe enough to believe it. That way, you're not coming at this from a force and rewriting other narratives and keeping those active wounds still very much alive in your manifestations and blowing them up way more with all the hot and cold. Because for me, once I started working on this route, everything shifted. The comparison, the constant panic, the need for performance, it really began to dissolve. And that's genuinely what I want for you too. So if you have ever felt really rejected or unseen, I think there's a bee trying to get in my hair, or like your story did not matter. I really want you to know that it absolutely does. Because once you rewire that story, you are not just manifesting this person, this job, the money, or the dream. You are manifesting a life where you genuinely feel safe receiving it all. And you now have a new sense of belonging because you were always here to belong. And it was really just your old programming that was stopping you from feeling like you could or could not, no matter what your background or your circumstances genuinely are, they will always be self imposed. But this is exactly what I do with my angel baby clients. We bring the science and the soul together so you can just actually finally feel safe being seen, safe being loved, and safe receiving everything that you've been affirming, because you don't have to keep reliving this rejection, and you're probably doing it more consistently and on a daily basis than you're even recognizing. Now, I really want you to be able to rewrite your belonging because you do belong. So, if this resonated, I really want you to share it with someone who maybe needs to hear this right now. And follow Angel Baby for more on manifestation, self concept, nervous system healing, and inner child healing. And if you're ready to go deeper, I would love to start your transformation together. I do have a client call, but I really wanted to get on here and share this with you guys because I feel it is something that really changed my perspective on the manifestation, and it's been allowing me to finally see the results that I've spent years working on, and the same with my clients. So if this resonated with you guys, I'm really happy, and I intend that it helps and lands with anyone that genuinely needed to understand that you do have a place in this world and you truly do belong.